Hey Pokemon Masters, Burkeeper Toby here, and something big has happened. Something very, very big. We have our silver play button. Just after this YouTube channel's 2nd birthday, we have received the silver play button for 100,000 subscribers. We're actually nearly at 150,000 subscribers, which is absolutely incredible. Also, I'm recovering from a cold, if you can't tell by why my voice sounds weird. But before I began this channel, I had a vlogging channel. I was on YouTube for just over 2 years, and just after its 2nd birthday, this vlogging channel that, as I say, doesn't exist, had just reached 1,200 subscribers, and I was ecstatic. There was no way I was ever going to be able to top that with the Pokemon channel. In my mind, I had done the most that I would ever do on YouTube. I actually do have a vlogging channel right now. I'm trying to promote it quite a lot. The link is in the top of the description if you're interested. I do advice videos, stuff about relationships, things about my personal life. But it's just absolutely incredible to me that in the same amount of time, we have achieved this. And I say we, because this here, it wouldn't exist without you. You who have made this happen. Over 100,000 of you. Well, actually, maybe there's not over 100,000 of you. Maybe there's just like 10 of you. Because it's not for 100,000 people, it's for 100,000 accounts on YouTube, and people can have multiple accounts, and that kind of got me thinking about today's video topic. Characters in the Pokemon world who have multiple versions of themselves. I also got thinking about this because of my last video about shipping and relationships and how some characters are essentially the same. For example, when you start a playthrough of a game, you have the male and female counterpart. As well as that, you've got anime and manga versions. So today I want to focus on the main character of the TV show, Ash, and how many different counterparts or clones does he have? And a great place to start with this topic is his name, Ash, which in Japan is Satoshi. Satoshi named after the creator of Pokemon, Satoshi Tajiri, which kind of makes Satoshi Tajiri another version of Ash, but we won't count that because he doesn't exist in the Pokemon world. Ash, however, does have a counterpart that he is in fact based off of, which is Red, from the Pokemon video game. In Pokemon Red and Blue, of course, you play as Red, and Red is the character that Ash Ketchum from Pallet Town is based off of. Of course, there are other versions of Red. There's not just the video game version, there's the Pokemon Adventures version, there's Pokemon Origins, Pokemon Generations. There's versions of him in Smash Bros, there's younger versions in Soul Silver and Heart Gold, and then there's an older version in Sun and Moon. And as for Ash, there's lookalike characters in the show, for example, one of his early rivals, Richie, who also has a Pikachu. And as well as him, one of the gym leaders from the Orange Island has a son. A son called Travis, who looks an awful lot like Ash, who has a Pikachu. All of these could be considered in-show clones, and as well as this, there's spiritual successors to Ash. For example, his spiritual ancestor, Sir Aaron from the Lucario movie, who shares the same aura with Ash. And he does kind of look like an older Ash, and in fact he looks like another character from the video games, Riley. Riley is in many ways the video game version of Sir Aaron, and in fact, Mr. Buddy did a whole video about this topic. And as well as that, there's Riley's manga counterpart. And by the way, if you think Ash there being some weird ancestral version of him that he's based off of, and that's ridiculous, no, it's not. Because of course, there is Ash Greninja, and Ash Greninja isn't the only Greninja like that. There was apparently one thousands of years ago. This being one that apparently existed in an ancient tribe. And because Ash Greninja is based off of Ash, that means that there's some ancient version of Ash out there that we haven't met. Not to mention that Ash Greninja is a thing in the games, meaning there's a version of Ash in the game universe as well, apparently. So already, just from this one character, we can see how these things start to spread out. You've got Ash, you've got Red, you've got other anime characters that are similar. And when it comes to Red, you've got about half a dozen different versions of him, but you don't just have him, you also have her, as in Leaf. And yes, when we're talking about the female player character from Fire Red and Leaf Green, her name is Leaf here in the UK, where I am making this video. You're playing Fire Red and Leaf Green as a female, then you are Leaf, who serves the exact same function as Red. Within some version of the Pokemon world, it's the exact same character, meaning Leaf is just another variation of Red, and by extension, Ash. Not to mention that yes, in the Pokemon Adventures manga, she was originally called Green, but then the moment they created the character of Leaf for Fire Red and Leaf Green, they combined the two characters together, sort of merged the two characters, making them one and the same. Of course not if you're in Japan, because if you're in Japan, then green is blue and blue is green, and I'm not getting into that right now, it's ridiculous. You know who I'm talking about. All of these characters are just more variations of Red, which are just more variations of Ash. And this isn't the only player character from the games that becomes an extension of Ash because of the Kalos series. First of all, look at Ash's costumes in the show. They tend to be his own, until the X and Y saga when he takes up the costume of Calum. Calum doesn't appear in the show like so many of the other protagonists do in little specials here and there, apart from that one time in Pokemon Generation. But again, Pokemon Generations is a separate canon where Red exists, so Calum is another variation of Ash. The Ash that goes on the Kalos journeys is just the TV show adaptation of the video game character of Calum. They are dressed exactly the same. And of course, if you play as a female character in those games, you take on the role of Serena. And technically, Serena is a variation of Ash because of two reasons. One, because she's the female variant of Calum, and Calum is a variant of Ash, but also because Serena takes inspiration in her creation from Leaf. Short sleeve top, red skirt, high socks, the hair is the same, the hat is basically the same. Leaf started off in Pallet Town, and chronologically that's where Serena met Ash for the first time. She also has origin bases in Kanto. So while no, it's not a direct one-to-one copy, again, it's just another variation of the same character. And these two characters are more alike than any other female or male pairing of player characters. So when you're an Amore shipper and you're shipping Serena and Ash together, remember that you're just really shipping variations of the same character together that are so far removed at this point that they've become their own thing. And we're not done there, because Sun and Moon just came out with the characters of Sun and Moon, and if you take a look at Sun's costume, yeah, that's Ash's costume. Sun, the character that you play as when you play Sun and Moon, is the video game counterpart to Ash in the TV show. Doing the island trials, starting with an Alolan starter, it's the same story. And again, by extension, the female player Moon is again just another variation. Now, to be clear, what I'm saying is across all of the different various canons of Pokemon, these characters are not all the same character. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that these characters are connected by the same sets of characteristics. They are the embodiments of that same spirit of wanting to catch Pokemon and train them, be the very best. And those of you who play as those player characters, when you play Sun and Moon or X and Y or Red and Blue, you're an extension of that too. You are just a variation of Ash. And so I have to thank you and Ash Ketchum and all of those that embody that spirit for this. Thank you so much for making this happen, and I hope you found this video interesting. If there's any variations you think I've missed, let me know in the comments. So hi, Pokemon Masters. A special thank you to my Patreons of the month, especially my big Patreons of the month, Jon D Gottlitch and Joey Pals. Thank you.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master.